Before we get on to step number 3, which is talking about duration and duration estimates and entering duration into Microsoft Project and your project plan, I want to make it very clear that it's important to really distinguish between phases, tasks, and milestones. So it should be pretty obvious to you now that creating a phase in Microsoft Project is synonymous with creating what we call a summary task. And a phase or a summary task in Microsoft Project really is a summary of everything that's underneath it. Anything that's indented underneath that particular summary task will be summarized up to that level. And in this particular case, phase 1 will summarize until it reaches to the next level of equal indentation. So phase 1 will stop summarizing once it gets to phase 2. And phase 2 will stop summarizing once it gets to phase 3, and so on. And in this particular case, up here at the project level, this is what we call the project summary. It'll actually summarize the entire project information because there's nothing equal at that particular level in the work breakdown structure. So phases are important because you'll notice here that in the phase area, I try and enter some sort of duration number into that. You can't because these are all calculated fields. So all these fields across the top here, at least from a duration standpoint and a start and finish date, aren't fields that you enter in. These are calculated fields based on the summary of everything that's underneath it. And that's a real value add because these summary phases will give you an overview of your entire phase and also at the project level of your entire project. And later on we're going to add other columns like work and cost, and you'll be able to see the total work and cost for that phase, and you'll be able to see the total work and cost for that particular project. And that's the same for every level of summary task that you have. Here we only have really a simple work breakdown structure with 2 levels of detail, but again, if you needed to insert new task and move that task over, this will become a summary, and gather information will stop summarizing when it gets to the next level of indentation, which happens to be analysis. So you can have a summary and a summary within a summary, and you can continue to do that. I could actually insert another task here called new task and move that task over, and now I have a summary of 4 different levels of work breakdown structure. 3 of these levels are in fact summary tasks where you don't actually enter in any information at that level because they'll summarize everything that's underneath it. So it's really important to understand the value of creating these summary tasks. I'm going to remove those by hitting the delete button now. But I wanted to make sure you understand the difference. Microsoft Project differentiates between phases and tasks based on the fact that there's something indented underneath it. If there's nothing indented underneath a particular line item, then it's in effect a task. But I've also talked earlier about differentiating between a task and a milestone, and we know that by taking this particular activity and making the duration 0, Microsoft automatically recognizes that as a milestone. So it really knows 3 things. It's either a phase or a summary activity or a summary task, or a task, which means that there's nothing indented underneath it with some duration, or a milestone, which means there's nothing indented underneath it with 0 duration. So to complete these milestones, I would type in 0 here, and I would type in 0 here. And we're going to talk more about duration in step 3. But I wanted to point out that we now have 3 different types of activities in Microsoft Project. We have summary activities, we have tasks activities, which in this case are the last level of indentation in our work breakdown structure, and we have milestones, which are 0-day activities that don't have anything indented underneath them either. And these become very useful tools for us. So for example, if I wanted to create a quick milestone report, you can. And later on when we talk about communication, we'll learn how to filter out just for milestones and print those off for a report. If you just wanted to create a high level report, you can collapse these phases up and print them off just the way they are. So I think it's really important that you understand the difference between phases, tasks, and milestones. And a phase is really a major component, could be a deliverable or an interim deliverable, and in Microsoft Project we simply refer to those activities as summary tasks. And a task, we know what those are, and now we know what a milestone is. So those are 3 key things, and that's how Microsoft Project differentiates between phases, tasks, and milestones, which are important to know as we go forward in our planning cycle and into the updating, tracking, and communication programs or modules of this program.